To dominate each day, we must first confront a profound realization the concept of control is, in itself, an illusion. True mastery does not lie in forcing the world to bend to our will, but in learning to flow with it. Life is not something to conquer, but something to be experienced, embraced, and understood. In this light, dominating your day is not about relentless striving, but about fully inhabiting each moment. It begins with presence fully inhabiting the now without distraction or judgment. Every action, every thought, every decision can either take us closer to harmony or lead us further into resistance. In fact, the most powerful actions arise not from clinging to outcomes, but from allowing life to unfold in its own time and rhythm. As we explore this path, we realize that dominating the day means redefining success itself not as a destination, but as an ongoing process of growth. It is about cultivating simplicity, harnessing intention, and appreciating the moments that unfold before us. When we make peace with time and move in sync with it, we find that the most profound mastery comes not from pushing forward, but from flowing effortlessly within the world around us. The illusion of control is something that we all experience in varying degrees, yet it's one of the most subtle and persistent forces shaping our lives. We are conditioned to believe that in order to succeed or achieve, we must have control over every aspect of our environment, our time, and even our thoughts. But the truth is, control is an illusion, a construct that we create to give us a sense of security, a false belief that if we can just hold on tight enough, we can direct every outcome. The reality, however, is far more fluid and intricate than this. The first step in realizing the illusion of control is to observe how we react to life's inevitable uncertainties. We often find ourselves in conflict with the world when it doesn't behave the way we expect or desire. A missed opportunity, a setback, or an unforeseen obstacle can stir feelings of frustration, disappointment, or anxiety. We resist, we push against what is, and in doing so, we trap ourselves in a cycle of tension. The harder we try to control outcomes, the more we entangle ourselves in that struggle. Yet, no matter how much effort we exert, life remains unpredictable. It flows, bends, and adapts in ways that we cannot always foresee or influence. Consider nature. The seasons change without our intervention, rivers carve through mountains without our permission, and the sun rises and sets on its own schedule. There is a profound wisdom in this nature. It does not strive for control, it simply is. It responds, adapts, and evolves, sometimes with tremendous force, sometimes with quiet grace. This is the natural order of things. But somehow we often forget this truth in our everyday lives. We become so fixated on our plans, our ambitions, and the steps we believe we must take to get there, that we lose sight of the fact that life, in its essence, is beyond our control. We see this illusion of control most clearly when we look at our attempts to manage time. We schedule our days with precision, carving out every moment for maximum productivity. We cling to routines and deadlines, thinking that if we just stay organized enough, we can bend time to our will. Yet time marches forward relentlessly, regardless of how carefully we plan. It's a force we cannot hold back, and in our efforts to control it, we often find ourselves overwhelmed by it. Time cannot be controlled, but it can be experienced fully. We cannot force every moment to go as planned, but we can choose how we respond to what happens. In this acceptance of time's flow, we find a more profound form of mastery. When we shift our perspective and begin to embrace the uncertainty and unpredictability of life, we free ourselves from the pressure of constant control. We no longer need to force outcomes because we begin to understand that the beauty and power of life lie not in rigid structures, but in openness and adaptability. This does not mean giving up on goals or ambitions, but it means approaching them with a different mindset. Instead of trying to control every step, we can allow space for spontaneity, creativity, and even failure, knowing that each experience contributes to the unfolding of our journey. Embracing the illusion of control also invites us to engage with life in a more authentic way. We no longer define ourselves by our successes or failures because we understand that these are simply temporary moments in the larger flow of existence. Rather than holding on to rigid expectations, we allow ourselves to be present with what is, finding freedom in acceptance. This doesn't mean we stop making decisions or stop taking action. It simply means we do so with the understanding that we cannot foresee every consequence, and that sometimes the greatest lessons come from letting go of the need to control every detail. In the end, dominating your day isn't about controlling it, it's about being in harmony with it. It's about realizing that the more we try to control life, the more we distance ourselves from its inherent beauty. By letting go of the illusion of control, we open ourselves to the possibility of a richer, more fulfilling experience, one that is not bound by the limitations of our expectations but shaped by the flow of life itself. The power of presence is a subtle yet profound force that holds the key to experiencing life more fully. In our modern world, where distractions are endless and the pace of life accelerates by the minute, we often find ourselves looking elsewhere into the past, into the future, or into some idealized version of life that exists only in our imagination. But the truth is, the only moment that truly exists is the present one. And within that present moment lies the power to transform our experiences and our perception of life. Presence is not something that can be forced or manufactured. It is not about concentrating intensely on what is happening right now in a rigid or mechanical way. Rather, it's about allowing yourself to be fully engaged with the moment, not through effort or striving, but through letting go of everything that pulls your attention away. This means setting aside the endless chatter of the mind, the worries about what has been or what is to come, and simply allowing yourself to be where you are. When you do this, you discover that life is not something to be attained or achieved, but something to be experienced. But being present opens up a deeper connection with everything around you. Instead of rushing through your day, trying to complete tasks or accumulate achievements, you begin to see the richness of each moment. The texture of the air, the subtle shift in light, the sounds in the background, even the feeling of your own breath, these are all part of the living world around you, constantly unfolding. And when you are truly present, these small details become incredibly significant. They are no longer just background noise or fleeting distractions, but pieces of the fabric of life itself, each one contributing to the greater whole. This power of presence is not confined to sensory experience alone, it also extends to how we relate to our thoughts and emotions. So often we are caught in a cycle of self-judgment, comparing ourselves to others or worrying about what we might look like in someone else's eyes. We can be so consumed with the past or the future that we miss the richness of the present. When we step back and simply observe our thoughts and feelings without attachment or judgment, we free ourselves from this cycle. We begin to understand that our thoughts are not who we are, they are simply passing phenomena, and we don't need to follow every thought or emotion that arises. Instead, we can simply be aware of them, and in that awareness we gain a deeper sense of freedom. Presence also allows us to be more compassionate with ourselves and others. In our rush to accomplish, we often lose sight of the people around us, treating them as mere obstacles or means to an end. But when we are present with someone, we stop focusing on our own agendas and start truly listening to them. We see them for who they are, without the filters of judgment or expectation. In this way, presence creates deeper and more meaningful connections with the world. Instead of rushing through conversations or relationships, we become attuned to the needs and feelings of others, creating an atmosphere of empathy and understanding. One of the greatest benefits of presence is the sense of peace it brings. When we are fully present, we are not in conflict with what is. We are not resisting or wishing for something different. We are not caught in the mind's endless cycle of desire or fear. In that space of pure presence, there is a deep sense of acceptance, a recognition that everything as it is right now is enough. This acceptance does not mean passivity or complacency, it simply means that we are no longer fighting against the flow of life. We allow ourselves to be exactly where we are without the need for things to be any different. And in that acceptance, we find freedom. The power of presence is available to us at every moment, but it requires our awareness and willingness to fully inhabit the now. It is not something that can be planned or perfected, it is something that must be lived. As we practice presence in our daily lives, we find that it becomes easier to access, and over time we begin to experience life more vividly, more richly, and with greater appreciation. In the end, presence is not just about being alive, it is about truly living, and in that living we tap into a power greater than any external circumstance, the power of simply being. The art of letting go is perhaps one of the most paradoxical practices we can embrace in our lives. On the surface, it may seem counterintuitive to think that in order to achieve more, we must release our grip on certain things. We are taught from an early age that success requires effort, determination, and the ability to hold on to our dreams, hold on to our plans, hold on to our possessions, and even our identities. Yet in this constant striving and clinging, we often find ourselves stuck in a web of frustration, anxiety, and disappointment as life unfolds in ways we cannot control. The art of letting go, however, offers a profound shift that can bring us freedom and peace. Letting go is not about giving up or resigning to defeat, rather, it is the practice of releasing attachment to outcomes, expectations, and the need to control the flow of life. We often find ourselves gripping tightly to the way we want things to unfold, imagining that our happiness and fulfillment depend on achieving specific results. But life, with its unpredictable nature, does not always conform to our plans. And when we hold on too tightly to those plans or outcomes, we end up resisting the flow of life, making it difficult to experience peace and joy in the present moment. When we let go, we stop trying to force life to match our expectations, and instead we begin to trust in the process. This trust does not come from a place of naivety or passivity, but from a deep understanding that life, in its vast complexity, often knows better than we do. The idea that we must control everything in our lives is a form of egoic illusion. It's the belief that we are the masters of all things, the orchestrators of our destiny. But the truth is, we are participants in a much larger, more intricate web of existence, where many things are beyond our comprehension or our control. Letting go invites us to acknowledge the impermanence of life. Everything we hold dear, our relationships, our achievements, our possessions, even our sense of self, is transient. No matter how much we try to hold on to the way things are, change is inevitable. By letting go, we allow ourselves to accept change with grace. We recognize that nothing is permanent, and that the ebb and flow of life is not something to resist, but something to embrace. When we can release our need to control the way things stay, we open ourselves to the possibility of growth, transformation, and renewal. The act of letting go also frees us from the weight of past regrets and future anxieties. Often we carry the burden of past mistakes, missed opportunities, or old wounds, believing that they define us or limit our potential. We become so attached to our stories, our narratives about who we were or what we didn't accomplish, that we find it difficult to step into the present moment with a clean slate. Letting go means releasing these stories, no longer allowing them to control our actions or our sense of worth. It means stepping into the now without the baggage of the past, with the freedom to reinvent ourselves and choose new paths. Letting go also means surrendering to the idea of perfection. We often demand that things be just right, just perfect for us to feel satisfied or content, but perfection, like control, is an illusion. Nothing is ever truly perfect, and when we insist that it must be, we set ourselves up for constant disappointment. When we let go of the need for perfection, we create space for spontaneity, creativity, and flow. We learn to appreciate life as it is, rather than constantly striving to mold it into something that fits our narrow ideas of what it should be. To let go is also to forgive both others and ourselves. Holding on to grudges, anger, or resentment keeps us tethered to the past and prevents us from moving forward. By letting go of these negative emotions, we free ourselves from their grip. We choose to release the burden of past hurts and open our hearts to healing and compassion. Forgiveness in this sense is not about excusing wrongs, but about freeing ourselves from the weight of emotional attachment to those wrongs. In the end, the art of letting go is not about surrendering to life passively or being passive in the face of challenges. It is about recognizing when to step back and allow life to unfold on its own terms. It is about releasing the need for control and trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to, even if we cannot always understand the larger picture. Letting go brings us peace, freedom, and a deeper connection to the present moment. In releasing what no longer serves us, we make space for something new, something unexpected, and something far greater than we could ever have planned. The dance of action and stillness is one of life's most profound and subtle rhythms, yet it is often misunderstood. In a world that celebrates constant activity, achievement, and productivity, we are conditioned to believe that success is the result of relentless action, of always being in motion. However, the true power of action lies not in its frequency or intensity, but in its alignment with stillness. These two forces, action and stillness, are not opposites, rather, they are complementary aspects of a single dynamic flow. Action without stillness is like a river rushing wildly without direction. It expends great energy but accomplishes little, moving forward without purpose, swept along by external forces. On the other hand, stillness without action is like a stagnant pond, calm and serene but ultimately motionless, unable to evolve or grow. It is in the balance between the two that life becomes rich and meaningful. The art of living is knowing when to act and when to be still, and understanding that both are necessary for growth and harmony. Action rooted in stillness is far more powerful than action that arises from a place of anxiety, desperation, or over-effort. Stillness is not about doing nothing, it is about being fully present, in tune with the moment and attuned to the deeper currents of life. It is in stillness that we gain clarity, where we are able to hear the subtle whispers of intuition that guide us. When we take action from this place of inner calm, our actions become purposeful, deliberate, and aligned with the natural flow of life. There is a sense of ease and grace in such action, as if we are not forcing the world to bend to our will, but instead moving with it. Yet this stillness is not to be confused with passivity or inaction. In the dance of action and stillness, stillness does not mean avoiding action, but knowing when to act and when to pause. Just as a dancer knows when to rest between movements, we too must learn to step back and wait, to observe and listen. The moments of stillness are not wasted, they are essential for preparing us to move forward with wisdom and intention. Without these pauses, we risk moving mindlessly, driven only by the urge to do, without any connection to the deeper purpose that drives us. Stillness then becomes a source of renewal and strength. In the quiet, we can reflect on the path we are walking and ensure that our actions are in alignment with our true desires. This is not to say that every moment of stillness must lead to a grand revelation, but rather it offers the space for us to tune into the rhythms of our own being, to check in with our inner compass. When we return to action after stillness, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. The dance of action and stillness is a cycle, one that moves in a rhythm that is both cyclical and ever-changing. Some days require more action, while others call for more stillness. There are times when we must push forward with vigor and determination, and there are times when we must step back, reflect, and allow things to unfold in their own time. The beauty of this dance lies in its fluidity, in its ability to adapt to the needs of the moment, and in its trust that both action and stillness have their rightful place in the unfolding of our lives. The dance of action and stillness teaches us that life is not a race to be won or a series of tasks to be completed. It is a dynamic flow, a constant movement between doing and being. The more we learn to dance between these two, the more we tap into the rhythm of the universe itself, finding harmony and balance in the spaces between effort and ease, motion and rest. It is in this dance that we discover the true power of living, moving through the world not in haste or force, but with grace, clarity, and intention. Redefining success requires us to move away from the narrow, external definitions that society often imposes upon us. From a young age, we are taught that success is synonymous with wealth, status, and accomplishment, measured by how much we can accumulate or achieve in a specific time frame. But these metrics of success often leave us feeling empty, as though we are chasing something that, once attained, does not bring the fulfillment we expected. True success, however, cannot be defined solely by outward appearances or material possessions. It is a deeper, more personal experience, rooted in the alignment of our inner values and our way of being in the world. Success is a journey, not a destination. It is not a final state of having arrived, but an ongoing process of growth, learning, and becoming. Success lies in the daily commitment to live in accordance with our true selves, regardless of external recognition or validation. When we begin to redefine success in this way, we free ourselves from the pressure to meet society's expectations and open up space for a more authentic experience of life. Success becomes less about what we have and more about who we are and how we show up in the world. One of the most important aspects of redefining success is understanding that it is not about comparison. In a world driven by social media and constant visibility, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others. We measure our progress against their achievements, believing that their version of success should be ours as well. But true success cannot be measured against another person's life. Each journey is unique, and comparing our path to someone else's is like trying to compare the growth of two different plants. They may be growing at different rates and in different ways, but both are moving toward their own natural potential. When we stop measuring ourselves against others, we release ourselves from the need for validation and open up to the idea that success is about fulfilling our own potential on our own terms. Another shift in redefining success is realizing that it does not rely on external validation. Success is often tied to recognition from others, the approval of peers, or the applause of society. But this kind of success is fragile. It is dependent on the opinions of others and can be easily taken away. True success comes from within. It is a deep sense of inner fulfillment that arises when we align our actions with our values, when we live authentically, and when we embrace the ups and downs of life with equanimity. This inner success is not fleeting, it is lasting and unwavering, because it does not depend on the ever-changing opinions of others or the external circumstances we cannot control. Redefining success means embracing the idea that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather an essential part of it. We often fear failure, believing it signifies defeat or a lack of success. But failure is simply part of the learning process, a necessary stepping stone on the path to personal growth. Without failure, we cannot experience true success, for it is in our challenges and setbacks that we gain the wisdom, resilience, and strength to continue moving forward. Success, therefore, is not about avoiding failure, but about using it as a teacher, learning from it, and rising stronger. But redefining success also involves embracing the idea of balance. In the past, we may have been taught that success required sacrifice, sacrificing our health, relationships, or inner peace in pursuit of external goals. But true success is holistic. It is about creating harmony between different areas of life, work, family, personal growth, and well-being. Success means being present with our loved ones, taking care of our bodies, and nurturing our minds, all while pursuing our passions and goals. When we bring balance into our lives, we discover that success is not about doing more, but about doing what truly matters. To redefine success is to shift from a model of achievement based on external measures to a model of fulfillment rooted in authenticity, growth, and balance. It is about letting go of the pressure to conform and embracing the freedom to define success on our own terms. True success is not about how much we accumulate or what we accomplish, but about how deeply we experience life, how fully we embrace our journey, and how well we align our actions with our truest self. When we redefine success in this way, we find a deeper, more lasting sense of fulfillment that no external achievement could ever provide. Time is often seen as something that works against us. We view it as a limited resource, constantly slipping away, always moving forward, and leaving us in a perpetual race to accomplish as much as we can before it runs out. This sense of urgency, this pressure to make the most of our time, can create stress, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of never being able to do enough. However, when we shift our perspective, we can begin to see time not as our enemy, but as our ally, an ever-present force that supports and guides us if we choose to work with it, rather than fight against it. Time is a constant, an unstoppable flow that carries everything along with it, whether we want it to or not. But rather than seeing this as a burden, we can begin to view it as an invitation to live more fully, more consciously, and more intentionally. Time does not hurry us, it simply flows. It is our perception of it, our attachment to outcomes, our desire to rush that creates tension. When we understand that time is not something to be conquered or controlled, but something to be aligned with, we can start to work in harmony with it. One of the most powerful ways time can become our ally is when we embrace the present moment. Time is not a distant concept or something to be spent in the future. It is always here, always unfolding. The only real moment we have is the present one. Yet so often we are preoccupied with the past or the future, worrying about what has been or what might be. When we release this attachment to time's linear progression, we find that each moment becomes a precious opportunity to experience life fully. Rather than rushing through our days, we can learn to savor the time we have now, recognizing that it is a gift to be experienced in its fullness.